Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Eckmann of Gold Derby. Here with me is Shawn Levy, director of Deadpool and Wolverine. And this is the third film in this series, Shawn. And I have to imagine it's a complex thing where you're inheriting a movie where there's already a tone established in this franchise. Not only that, it connects so much to the MCU at large. You have to be cognizant of that, while also, I'm sure, wanting to put your own stamp on this film. So what is that dynamic like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was initially daunting for those reasons, and particularly because I love Deadpool and Deadpool 2. So I wanted to handle the tone of the franchise with appropriate reverence, because I feel it. But I do feel that I ended up in. It was indeed important for me to make this my own thing, and especially because Ryan said to me while we were shooting the Adam Project, he said, I'll only do another Deadpool movie if we do it together. So I knew that he wanted, a Shawn Levy film. And we talked about, well, what does that mean? And yet it's like the sky opened up because out of the blue, the call from Hugh Jackman, while Ryan and I, along with our other screenwriter partners, were trying to come up with the story, that changed everything. Because instantly, when Hugh called and said, "Can I do this with you guys?" it it that very same day gave this movie its why. It became no longer Deadpool 3. It became the first ever Deadpool Wolverine movie. And that kind of individuated the film, as far as story and tone, in a way that was beyond my wildest dreams.
Yeah, you said he wanted a Shawn Levy film, and you've worked in so many different genres across your career. But what I feel like when I watch your films, the unifying element is this really giant beating heart at the center of the story, no matter what the genre is. Was it immediately apparent to you how to incorporate that kind of emotional quality with this character?
Yeah, well, that is, I mean, it is interesting because only now with some hindsight do I look at like from Night at the Museum to Real Steel to Free Guy. There, these are very different genres, very different styles, looks, tones, but they are all sort of unabashedly warm-hearted and humanist. And with Wolverine joining this story, I instantly knew, and Ryan and I really felt almost like a lightning bolt of clarity, that this would be a movie about redemption. This would be a movie about friendship, but it would have this very kind of patient arc from animosity to guys who have no business going on a road trip together, who want to kill each other, to the realization that they also kind of, have a love between them, that there's a brotherhood and a shared haunted quality that both Wade and Logan are carrying shame, are carrying self-loathing. And eventually there's this recognition of understanding each other. And two guys who want to kill each other end up being two guys who save each other.
What I love about the film is that it can have that quality to it, this really beautiful emotional arc between them. And then, you can also have the opening sequence, which gloriously and playfully kind of desecrates the last moments of the Logan film. Walk me through the creation of that moment. How do
Well,
you
do you know
get to
what's
that point?
crazy, Sam? Is literally, I am in the room, I am in this rented office in downtown Manhattan where Ryan and I sat during, my God, it was years ago. It was in this room that we came up with the opening of this movie. And I remember that the way Ryan and I work as fellow producers and writers and director actor is we get excited by each other's ideas, and it sort of scaffolds from there. And so it started off with this idea of, okay, what are people the most afraid of? We have Wolverine in our movie. They're the most afraid that we're going to desecrate Logan, which is a masterpiece of a movie. So what if we literally start this movie on the final shot of Logan? A shot that, by the way, was so moving to me when I saw that movie that I cold called James Mangold and took him out to lunch as a fan.
Wow.
when that movie came out. And then it was right here with this brick wall behind us that Ryan said, okay, I sort of hate myself for this idea, but what if I not only dig up Logan, but what if I use his body as a weapon? And this was the genesis of an opening sequence that has since become kind of one of the more iconic aspects of the movie, but it really sort of evolved from that point is a shared reverence for the movie Logan, a shared adoration for the character of Logan, and yet it's a Deadpool movie. And so, the way that movies open and close are critical. The opening 5 minutes of every movie is sort of where a filmmaker makes a pact with his or her audience. And you sort of convey, this is what we're in for together. And the audacity of this opening is a bit of a promise to the audience that we're going to do some stuff that will end up being emotional, that will have lots of action. And it's also going to be sort of sacrilegiously subversive. And we like the fact that our opening sequence declares that tone.
Yeah. And it's really fun because the concept of Deadpool breaking the fourth wall all the time allows for references to other movies. It's chock full of cameos. You brought back Jennifer Garner and Wesley Snipes, Channing Tatum from the unmade Gambit film. What was that like of narrowing down that list and convincing these major stars to sign on for this project?
Well, the narrowing down of the list, we when it's the first Deadpool movie in the MCU, so you have this instant access to a bench that is deeper than almost any other. You have decades of comic book legacy and dozens, hundreds of characters that you could rope in if you wanted. So our rule was, does it service theme or story? So we knew that this movie was about, as we said, redemption, but also legacy. The idea of legacy, what is your legacy? Is it something you're proud of, or is it something you're ashamed of? And so as we thought about legacy, we thought about what are some of the Marvel characters, the heroes who never quite got their ending. And those, that led us to Elektra, that led us to Blade. And then the Gambit idea was just like, okay, what if we have that, by the way, led us to X-23 from Logan, bringing these characters back, bringing Chris Evans back as Johnny Storm. But then the Gambit idea was just, okay, what if in this hideout of heroes, you have someone who, Ryan and I are both friendly with Channing. We knew what that would-be movie meant to him. And we thought, well, that would just create such a zig when everything else was zagging. Everyone else is wrestling with legacy. And here's this person who never even got a chance to build one. And so it evolved from story and from that theme. And then the how of it was a lot of phone calls and texts. One thing Ryan and I share is, and the reason we like being producers as well as director and actor is we like to do the work. We like to get things done. So literally we would be in this office or we'd be in my apartment down the block or Ryan's apartment down the block. We'd come up with an idea for, what about the Cavalry? Is that crazy or is that kind of awesome? And literally we would just text the actor. And invariably, almost every single one said yes instantly. And I think that, frankly, I mean, it's flattering, but I think also there's such a deep love of the Deadpool movies and this kind of the promise that you could really come in and play and have fun and give the audience just a fastball of joy, which is ultimately what this movie is built for. And it's why the kind of the box office outcome of this movie has been so gratifying because, yeah, we made it to satisfy ourselves, but this movie was built for the audience. And so to see it satisfy the audience in that way, after all, what is theatrical movie going? That is the North Star of making theatrical movies is to connect with and satisfy an audience. And so I think a lot of people said yes because they wanted to sign up for the spirit of that.
Yeah. And put themselves through, lots of physical training through it too. So it's a testament to you that it's not just a cameo they signed on for. It's a lot. And you mentioned too, you do serve as director, producer, writer on this film. When you wear multiple hats on a project, does that give you more kind of creative empowerment? How does that change for you? Because you do it quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, yes, the short answer is yes, and we could probably get to more questions if I leave it at that. But yeah, I mean, when you are the director and you are your own producer and you're also writing on the project, it just becomes just honestly a deeply gratifying authorship. It's not to say that we didn't take notes. I'm very collaborative. I wouldn't have the career I had if I wasn't a good partner to the people I work with, whether that's my cast or the studio or etc. But on this one, it was the months and months, it was the year of writing on the project before we shot a frame that really allowed me to kind of invest myself and my ideas and my themes into this movie in a way that was really satisfying and more 360 than maybe any movie I've made. And that was a really gratifying experience.
Yeah. And speaking of collaborations, you've worked with both Ryan and Hugh before, and you tend to collect actors and work with them for a bit. What's your favorite aspect of developing those kind of long-term collaborations?
Well, it is interesting because you're right to note that I do a lot of repeat collaborations. And one thing when I'm hiring someone on something I'm producing, I always look at is their repeat business because usually the absence of any repeat collaborations is saying something about someone involved. Whereas if you have people wanting to sign up again and then again, it's sort of it's expressive of a really fruitful collaboration. And among the many benefits of it, the trust that evolves through just the comfort with one another is huge. And what trust really means is you're brave enough to try shitty ideas. If you have trust in someone, you can pitch an idea that is unfunny and not be mortified. You can try a shot that maybe doesn't work in the edit, but you know what? I've got this instinct. Let's try it. And really one of the things about my career at this point, because I'm like 14 or 15 movies into my career now, is my editor who's been with me 20 years, my assistant director who's been with me since Night at the Museum 1, my sound designer who's with me on Stranger Things and has been with me since Real Steel. It's yes, Ryan is a repeat collaborator, Hugh as well, Jen Garner as well. Chris Evans showed up for us on Free Guy as Channing did. So I like this roster of sisters and brothers who know the way I lead the team and who know that it's a best idea wins culture. I know there's some directors who love the kind of the throne of the position and they've got their vision and they don't want outside voices. I can't imagine working that way because I'll take a great idea wherever it comes from. And I
Mm.
think that makes the movies and the shows better.
And the film was huge, and not only does it mark, Deadpool being incorporated into the MCU for the first time, but it was also the only Marvel film of 2024, which is new for them. So obviously for the studio, there's plenty riding on this financially. How have you learned across your career to kind of deal with that type of pressure for a big film?
You get pretty good at mind tricking yourself. You sort of it, and then you get good at suppressing it into the back reaches of your brain because you cannot be great at anything. I would argue that you sort of can't be great at anything tight, right? You'll hear that from tennis players. You'll hear that from martial artists. You'll hear that from, you know, from people in every walk of life that at a certain point you need to trust that your skills are there and you got to have some flow. And especially in a creative job, uh, if I'm thinking about, oh my God, the budget's this, or it's the only Marvel movie this year, I'm not going to be open to the surprises that come out of every day if you're loose. And so whether that's improv on set or sitting here in an editing office and going, wait, what if we tried this idea that wasn't in any script and wasn't even in my brain until right now? So you sort of, you store it away deep, deep, deep where it can't hurt you and tighten you up. And And then you remember every once in a while, and you're just constantly toggling back and forth between this like foreground awareness. And at the end of the day, my job is to make the movie that I think is going to satisfy audiences the most. And that becomes priority one.
Yeah. And you have different, when I, kind of look at and think of your career, there's kind of different segments to it of like moving through these different genres. Is there one, now that you've tackled a superhero film, is there one you're looking for next, or do you just kind of let things happen?
That's a really good question. And I definitely, especially with how prevalent the family film comedies were early on, um, I back then I really wanted to try my hand at other kinds of things. And I started 21 Laps because back then when I was making the Cheaper by the Dozens and the Night Museums, I wasn't sure I'd ever be given movies of different genres. So that's been really satisfying. And Real Steel was a big pivot moment, directing a non-comedy and realizing, oh wow, this is really satisfying. Stranger Things, frankly, directing episodes of Stranger Things was another big sort of level up as far as, wow, it's really satisfying to do different kinds of things. I would say this, Sam, for the first time, and maybe it's because Deadpool and Wolverine sort of succeeded at a level that was beyond even what we were dreaming of. For the first time in my career, I find myself really open to whatever is undeniable next. So, as far as what am I looking for? Nothing in particular, except I don't want to repeat myself. And I'm going to say yes to the next thing I can't resist. That's the criteria, the irresistible.
Mm, that sounds great. Well, we can't wait to see what irresistible thing you cook up for us next. So, Shawn, thank you so much. Fantastic job with Deadpool and Wolverine. And thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thanks for your time, too. Good seeing you.